My name is Markus Kramer, and I'm the founder and owner of Kramer Motorcycles.
And what year did you start Kramer Motorcycles?
I started in 2013.
God bless you. And
10 years.
And how many bikes did you build in 2013?
In 2013, zero.
Zero? How many bikes did you build in 2014?
2.
And how many bikes did you build in 2022?
150, I would say.
So that's 50 times growth.
222.
So if you keep that growth rate up, you'll be doing 5,000 bikes in the next 10 years. All right, and we're standing in front of the new Kramer Motorcycles building. And
yes.
When did you guys move in here?
3 weeks ago. We are still moving in. Not everything is 100% finished. But yeah, the chapter Töging is closed, so everything from Töging is here in Burghausen now. And yeah, we're fully operational, and yeah, not every picture is on the wall now, and the decoration is missing, but yeah, we can work, and that's most important.
And how many employees do you have?
30 employees.
Oh, that sounds awful. All right, well, you want to show me around?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look.
Let's go in. So here's the foyer with the nice motorcycles and pictures that you just had.
I'll imagine them.
Imagine them.
I can paste them in.
Yeah. And the heart of the building, the machine room.
Is this all HVAC?
So that's for the heating and electricity. So as you can see, they're still working here.
And where were you located before you moved in here?
Töging, this is 30 kilometers away from here.
And how many square meters did you have there?
We had about 500 to 600 square meters there, and here we have about 2,000
Excellent.
square meters. So, yeah, let's start in the R&D.
Okay.
All right. So this is our R&D workshop.
Now, what? Forgive my ignorance if I don't know, but do you build your own frames?
Yes.
You do build your own frames?
Yes, on frames, on swing arms, fuel tank, you know, basically the complete chassis.
The complete chassis?
Yes. Of course, brakes are, you know, from Brembo, or the wheels are, we don't do ourselves, we get them from Dymex. So they are components we buy from other companies. But let's say the core chassis components, frame, swing arm, fuel tank, all the triple clamps, handlebars, foot pegs, all the CNC machine part
are built here.
It's all developed here, but we don't produce the parts. We don't have the manufacturing of the parts in-house. We have the engineering. So we send out the cut data and the drawings to the supplier who's doing the CNC machining or the roto molding. They do the production for us, send the parts here, and we do the assembly.
So that seems like a really big gantry crane for use with motorcycles.
Yes.
What is the gantry for?
This thing.
What is that thing? Or should we get to that thing later?
Maybe later.
All right, we'll talk about that thing later.
So this is Kramer Special Vehicles. It's not Kramer Motorcycles.
All right, so what am I looking at here?
Here look at Kramer GP2R. Just made an engine service to this bike. It's a customer bike. It's now getting put together and go out to the customer again.
KTM 890 engine.
Inline 2-cylinder, 890 cc.
But the frame is Kramer.
Yes.
And the triple trees are Kramer?
Yes.
Or triple clamps?
Triple clamps.
And the clip-ons are Kramer. And then...
fuel tank, which is the seat on our bike.
And what plastic is that?
It's called XPE, cross-linked PE. It's the same material that you also use on rally bikes. So it's very impact resistant. So when you have a crash, this material will not crack, it will just deform, but it will stay sealed. The only downside of this material is that you cannot get it street homologated because there's too much gases going through the material. But as we only do race bikes, so that's not a factor to us.
And then you're rolling on WP suspension?
Correct, because that's the best.
But that's not, what version of the WP suspension is that?
Yeah, we have the closed cartridge fork. It's an aftermarket product from WP, but we developed our own setting for the fork. So yeah, we can go to the suspension workshop later.
Okay. Is there anything else that you're particularly proud of with this? I mean, just making the frame is a pain. Did you do all the welding in-house?
No.
Okay.
For prototype bikes, yes. But for serial production, we have suppliers. You know, we have one supplier doing the frame, different suppliers doing the fuel tank, different suppliers making the casting for the swing arm. So we do the engineering. This is our core competence. You know, we design the bikes on the computer, we calculate, simulate, and do the prototype build-ups, do the testing on the track. But when we are on the stage where we say, okay, this is now ready for the serial production, we have our suppliers doing the production, because it doesn't make sense for us, for our numbers, to have an in-house rotomolding thing. And so all this manufacturing of the single components is externally. It's let's say basically, I would say 300 kilometers radius around our company. This is where most of the parts being manufactured. Yeah, they all send the parts here, and we do the assembly of the bikes in-house.
And the WP suspension, both for production KTM and their racing aftermarket, is still within that same KTM plant that's about 40 kilometers from here?
Yes, yeah, this is where WP is, where we get the components from. We do rework the setting on the components for our bikes.
Sure.
That's what we do here in-house. Now, there's an official cooperation between Kramer Motorcycle and KTM. You know, there was the must-have to start the business for me. You know, to get this deal with KTM, that we don't need to buy bikes and strip them and sell the rest of it, because you cannot really build up a business on that model.
Right.
So. Yeah, from day one on, we had the cooperation KTM and Kramer, and without that, it wouldn't be possible.
And what about is that the bodywork and pipe and radiators for this bike?
Yes.
And who makes sure, or rather, is the bodywork a Kramer design?
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. And that's all, is that fancy carbon?
No, this is glass fiber with carbon Kevlar reinforcement. This is
a little pretty detail.
Some details in carbon, yeah.
And that is
the lower part of the airbox.
Got it. Okay. What about the exhaust system?
Also own development together with company RP Tuning from Czech Republic.
And you're running, do you run the map sensors, I mean the O2 sensors, or these wideband?
These ones are not wideband. On the double R we have wideband, and close lambda we have different electronics on the different models. So our latest model, which I will show you later, is the GP2 RR. This has a full Mechatronic electronic package on, which is the same as they use in the World Championship.
So fancier. Oh, suspension dyno?
Yes, correct. We have suspension dyno, you know, for the damping, and spring dyno, and the suspension workshop where we.
So you get the tools, you get the testing tools from Adriani, but you get the cartridges from WP.
Correct.
Got it.
So we do our own cartridge development, setting development here for our bikes.
And these are old school tools, right? Yeah, like.
Yeah, but they work.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm. That's not how the new. You can't just hit print, right? For those.
No. As I say, this is only for the basic needs in R&D. If you need simple parts, that we can do that on our own.
So this is a lot of room for expansion here. I like how you built the lifts into the floor.
Yeah.
So what else is under the floor?
Heating.
Oh, it's radiant heat.
Yes.
Ah.
Everything.
Another expat American. Wonderful. So these are gorgeous. And are those hand welded or robot welded?
Hand welded.
Hand welded.
Yep.
And how many frames did you make in 2022?
It's about 200.
And all the same frame or different frames?
Two different frames we have. One for the single cylinder platform and one for the twin cylinder platform.
Okay. And which ones are these?
Twin. That's a frame for the current GP2 890RR production. So in this area here of the workshop, this is the pre-assembly area. So yeah, we make these pre-assemblies, of the single assembly groups, and these assembly groups then go over to that part of the workshop, and over there we build up the complete bikes.
And the orange frame is a Kramer frame or a KTM frame?
It is the same frame, different color.
Different color, all right.
Yes.
Steel frames, if I understand it correctly, have slightly better inherent resonant absorption than the aluminum frames. Broad strokes, like on a bicycle or something like that. It's a little bit of a softer, it absorbs more on the side. And if I understand the theory correctly, you can change your frame characteristics by the number of triangulations, but also the thickness of the tubing.
Of course, yes.
So how did you decide what is just the right frame?
This is really calculated on the computer. So, that's also, there's no right and wrong, you have your stiffness numbers, lateral stiffness, your torsional stiffness, and your, the braking, the longitude, or what is the English word?
That's
stiffness.
That'll work.
Yeah. So you have these three numbers, and the big question is what numbers are good for a bike for the racetrack. So we have our own, where we think these are the numbers we should aim for. I think the most important number is the lateral stiffness on the racetrack, and when you make the design on the computer, you can run the calculation on the frame and see how is the stiffness of the frame. Is it in the area where we want it to be? And that's a secret every company is having, and there's no right and wrong number, but there's certainly numbers out there, also, you can check other suppliers and see, what stiffnesses they have, and make up your own mind of, your goal numbers. And you develop the frame to that stage, and then bring it to the track and ride, and make the check afterwards on the track.
Does it keep you up at night though, thinking we should have been slightly stiffer, we should have been slightly softer? Just before you push the button to order 100 frames?
No, I wouldn't say. I think more about general package stuff at night. and again, the stiffness, there's no. The frame will not fit every racetrack. You know, even when you have different racetracks, different riders, it's always a compromise.
And what about the tires? Is a slick, a slick, a slick, a slick?
No. There's difference, and I would say the big brands, they're all good tires, but they have different characteristics. And we choose Pirelli because they are more, let's say, a softer compound. We have a pretty stiff chassis, so
it's a softer carcass too.
So this combination for an amateur rider, suits the best,
right.
From our point of view. A real fast professional rider maybe wants a bit more support and stiffer tire, but for the average amateur rider, it's better to have these a bit softer and a bit earlier feel, when things are moving and doing things.
Okay, so you, following on the conversation with the frames, then you get to the swing arm, and you have all of the same questions about how stiff do you want the swing arm.
Yes.
And you're going to say there is no right, but there's close to right.
Yes, of course. The main difference is what type of motorcycle you want to develop. Do you want to make a comfortable street homologated motorcycle, or do you want a race motorcycle? So then your target numbers are different. For us, comfort on a bike is not a big factor. We want direct feedback, we want the performance, and if you take our bikes on a country road trip for 5 hours, I don't think it's comfortable at all. So and this is also one of the big differentiations between our bikes, the Kramer bikes, and all the other OEM bikes. We develop and build the bikes purely for the racetrack use, and the big OEM bikes are firstly developed for a street use and then being converted, make the detour. And some of the, often I get the question, why is the Kramer so light, and why can't the big OEMs build so light? And the answer is mainly because we are building directly for the racetrack. So we never think about having a passenger with us, and that the support structure needs to be so rigid and strong to have a second person luggage and whatever, and all the emission stuff. This is not on our table. So we are a lot more free and to develop the base package of the bike a lot different to a street bike. And it's not magic. It's not magic.
Right. It's liberating, though. It's liberating.
Now this is a sprocket protection from the single cylinder bike.
Got it.
And also a belly pan holder here. And the, how you call it, the shift rod support.
Yep.
That's also one thing we always try to give every part on the bike multiple functions to save weight and keep it simple. This is purely for the serial production of.
So this is going to be
bikes.
your assembly area.
Yes.
Got it. Have you actually built a bike in here yet?
A complete bike? No.
No, that's fun.
We just started with the pre-assemblies. As I say, we're just moving in here. Yeah, and this is the warehouse area.
KTM is conveniently located, is it 40 minutes away?
30 minutes.
30 minutes away, if you're in a hurry. And so that makes it very quick if you need any OE parts, because it's just half an hour away. So very short supply chain for a lot of stuff.
Yes.
The Kramer produced parts, obviously it's a longer, complicated supply chain.
All the KTM parts which are on our bikes are directly coming from Mattighofen. I'll show you our latest version, the GP2RR. One of the pre-series production bikes.
And who is your primary customer for these?
It is the main customer group is the amateur and hobby riders. Here in Europe, it's really more the track day enthusiast In America, it's more about club racing.
And is this bike one that's already been used?
Yeah.
And do you supply it with all of the bolts already drilled for wire? Like all of the brake bolts that are wired? So you do all of that?
Yes.
So when they buy the bike,
they can fuel it up, go to the track and have fun.
And start obsessing about tire pressures and settings. Do you set the suspension for the rider before they pick it up? Or do they have a standard setting?
We have a standard setting, but over in the US, we ship to our importer, Joe Carbonen, in the US, and he's setting it up then for the final end customer on spring.
And is the paint that I'm looking at on this bike, is that the way they're delivered?
Correct.
Yeah.
In America, there will also be a second version in black, but for Europe, that's we call it Brno Blue because it was presented in Brno.
So it is beautiful. Does this have a battery in it?
Yes.
Will it turn on? Or, I mean, we don't have to start it, but can we light up the instrument panel? Yeah, that's the real race dash there.
Yes. We can fire it up if you want.
Sure. You look like a proud father.
I am.
All right. And then you put the fuel in the back and
Correct.
under the seat.
Correct.
And
This is all airbox.
And it's very narrow.
Yes, the center of gravity is low. So when you ride with a full fuel tank or an empty fuel tank, you don't feel a big difference. Because the weight of the fuel is so close to the center of gravity of the bike. And also, in quick turns from left to right, when you have normally you have your fuel in here, it's pretty high, and you have to overcome, when you go from left to right, move all the mass. On this bike, it flips so much easier and faster with this setup.
So there is the theory that the lower the center of gravity, the more you have to lean the bike to get around a turn at a...
No, I would say the biggest advantage is that it doesn't matter how much fuel is in your tank, it always feels the same. On a normal bike, when it's fully fueled, the bike feels different beginning of the race to end of the race.
To the end of the race, got it.
Not on this bike.
And how many liters do you have of fuel?
16 liters.
16.
Yes. And it's easier to flick because the weight is lower. The center of gravity, because the fuel is lower.
Oh, yeah, it has. And what's the weight on this bike?
This is 142 kilograms.
142.
Yes, without fuel, but everything else in.
So plus whatever fuel you put into it.
Yeah.
And what ECU are you using?
Yeah, so this is the very first model where we have the Mectronic ECU in. So this is fucking awesome, if I'm allowed to say.
So you went full Motronic ECU.
Yeah.
And the throttle bodies?
The throttle bodies are the OEM throttle bodies.
And are they ride-by-wire?
Yes,
The
correct.
ECU has got auto blip up and down, traction control.
Traction control, launch control, anti-wheelie.
Slide? Does it do slide correction?
No, it's you can adjust the traction control, to say how much it should cut.
And it has an IMU?
Yes.
Yeah.
Internal.
So the customer if they wanted to change the power delivery in second gear at 50 degrees of lean, do they have the capacity to do that?
If they want to be that deep in the adjustment, they have to do a training first, but they can do it. And we also...
But you'll train them?
Yes, we will train our customers. Also, Medtronic is offering trainings for their for the system, and we will also provide different files, because when you go racing, there will be plenty of different throttle maps or engine brakes, and we will make that accessible for all our customers. So that we have a download center where they can get the maps that we, in the development phase now, in the racing that we do. We just share that information with them.
And how many horsepower is your 890 making with your ECU?
In this bike, we have about 138 horsepower at the clutch.
At the clutch?
Yes.
So, but much lighter than most of the other bikes with that horsepower.
Yes, 142 is a lot lighter than any super sport bike. So it's more comparable to a Moto2 bike.